Episode 4, Cold Metal. Bay's eyes rolled back, and every muscle in her body tensed to the limit. Oh no. The woman fell, first on her knees, then onto her side. The mysterious object slipped out of her hands, landing in the grass, dusted with wet snow. What do I do? Take the cube, try to bring Bay back to her senses, ask Shen to make a portal. Shen, can you make a portal around Bay and this thing? I don't think we should touch either of them until we find out what type of magic this is.
Agreed. Step back. I just need a minute.
Nodding, the catcher did as she was told. Through her connection to Onyx, she informed her that the mission was concluded. Since they were outside, Shen used a special artifact as he moved it along the frozen ground, creating glowing runes and circles. The witch kept her eyes on Bay. Her presence was still activated, even though she looked like she was in a deep slumber. Her chest rose and fell slowly, her eyelids fluttering slightly. Nova thought about her well-being, the mission. I'm worried about her. This magic, it won't kill her, right? These worries were soon replaced with a concern about the mission. Another mystery. Even more dangerous this time. How are we supposed to figure it out if the cube affects people like this?
Done. Let's get out of here.
Nova stepped into the portal, and Shen's spell swept them away from the Turlieris Gardens. When they were inside the familiar walls, Shen put his hand over his mouth and stormed out of the living room, almost bumping into Vesper and Lucian, who came running to the noise. What's wrong? What's happened? What's wrong with Bay? And Shen. Before they could take a step closer, the catcher blocked their path. We found an object, but nobody should touch it. I think Shen's feeling unwell because he had it teleported. She quickly brought them up to speed. Vesper tried to hold it together, but the way she clenched and unclenched her fists betrayed her intense anxiety. Are you okay, Nova? Yes, I'm unharmed. However, Bay was the only one who touched the cube. Good. After that, her attention shifted to her. She crouched down next to her bodyguard. Lucian examined the metal object, keeping a safe distance. So she touched it, her presence activated, and then she lost consciousness. Yes. Vesper raised her hand over her, casting a spell. As far as I understand, her physical condition is stable. But that could change. Her presence is still fully engaged, which could lead to exhaustion.
That thing almost got me clutched.
The warlock stepped back into the room. He looked pale, sinking into the chair. He closed his eyes.
We need to move her. Can't just leave her on the floor.
What if physical contact leads to the transfer of this magic? We can't know for sure. We can do it without touching her. Wow, even small living creatures are incredibly difficult to lift in the air, let alone an entire person. Besides, we'll need to move the cube as well. Somewhere it can't be interacted with by accident. Be right back, I need to take a tincture. When Vesper returned, the power of her presence almost knocked the wind out of Nova's lungs. What did you take?
Ghost pipe.
Yes. First time I've heard about it. Why are Vesper and Shen looking at each other like that? Ask about the tincture. What does it do?
Significantly increases your magical potential, but it's much stronger than what you're used to.
Let me guess. When the effect subsides, Vesper will be having a very rough time. The ghost pipe really doesn't work when taken by itself. In nature, it parasites fungi. That's why herbalists usually mix them in. For the most potent combinations, the fungi have to be poisonous. I guess you could say I deserve a bit of suffering for that time when I poisoned you. I don't really think about it, but I'd prefer that no one ever go through something like that.
Don't worry about her. She'll be fine.
I see you're enjoying this, Shen.
Shen shrugged. I'll indulge in a bit of Schadenfreude. I think of this as your punishment for keeping important information from me.
Is he referring to the fact that Vesper didn't tell him about me spying for the church? Terribly sorry to interrupt, but do you think we should perhaps hurry up? Sighing, Vesper turned to the center of the room. Everyone else made sure they weren't in her way. Allure Ifemi, Flock Leleor. Her magic crashed down on the space like a tsunami. Vesper lifted her into the air at first glance. It seemed as though it took almost no effort, but Nova noticed a bead of sweat on her temple. Ugh, blinded white, your yellow light. When her bodyguard's body was hovering above the sofa, she slowly lowered her. The concern in Shen's eyes, as he was looking at her, wasn't lost on the catcher. Phew.
You okay?
Yes, just need to catch my breath. Lucian, is there anything in the house that we could put the artifact in? I don't want to risk moving it to another room. We'll keep it here, safer to keep interactions to a minimum. I have a display stand in my office. It was built-in security mechanism. I'm using it to exhibit my Joan of Arc's bust now, but I think I'll find another place to put it. All right, that should do. When Lucian brought the stand, Vesper used another spell to briefly examine the object from the gardens while moving it. Then they activated the security. How does it work? It's something like Shen's runes, only without the magic. Whoever touches it will get shocked. Afterwards, an alarm will sound, a very unpleasant alarm.
Why would some bust need such security?
Some bust wouldn't. An extremely expensive and valuable one, on the other hand. Vesper folded her arms across her chest and tilted her head to one side, studying the artifact. Have any of you ever seen something like this? Everyone shook their heads. Perhaps Onyx or Talix have? They should be back soon. I doubt it, but we'll ask. There's no markings on it, perhaps from part of the line on the sides.
How can we investigate it if we can't even touch it?
And how much time do we have? She glanced at Bay and a chill ran down her spine. I'll call Jorge, find out if we can somehow calm our presence down. Vesper stepped away to make her call. The others fell into a heavy silence. I wish she was fine. I could just leave this game behind. I could talk to my father now. Weird that you want to talk to your father, but okay, I wish she was fine. Staring at the object, its surface ominously reflected the flames from the fireplace. Nova wrapped her arms around herself, struggling to make her tired brain function. My gift is useless. I won't be able to look into the past of the artifact or whatever it is without direct content. I'm sure we'll figure it out. Even if we don't know what it is, there may well be people who do. Or not people.
Vampires.
Indeed. I already have a couple in mind. They're older and wiser than me. Sounds like there's a but. But getting in touch with them will require reopening some old wounds. Agnes? He nodded.
Who is Agnes?
My ex-wife. She's a vampire and lives in Paris. The vampires I'd like to talk to are part of her clan. Shan only whistled, looking down at the floor. Vesper came up to them again. Good news. She isn't in danger. For now. Jorge is going to contact his friend, a local herbalist. She will provide us with the special tinctures. They will help ease the strain on her body and buy us some time to figure out what type of magic is affecting her. We'll need to find a way to administer them, and... She trailed off, noticing two shadows flicker past the open window. A moment later, Onyx and Tallis were standing in the living room. As they looked around, the smiles on both their faces melted into confusion.
Bay.
Panther? Cat. Why you gotta give me this outfit choice? I have to think of the diamond choices and then how much we have. It's a really nice outfit, though. Come on, just move on. Shut up. What's going on? A lot of things. They filled the Animorphs in. Each word, the fear on their faces grew more evident. Bay's gonna be okay, right? Yes. The Supreme Witch's eyes were devoid of their usual confidence, sparkling with sadness instead. She made every effort to banish it. I'll find some specialists among my circles. Someone must know something about this. Thank you, Lucian. Vesper continued speaking, but Nova realized she was barely listening. The words tangled into indecipherable noise, and her body suddenly grew heavy. Sheen was in a similar state. Even Vesper herself began to falter. Any recommendations on where to start looking for information? To everyone's surprise, Vesper shook her head. I don't think that's a good idea. We've studied a lot of materials up to this point, and haven't seen mentions of anything remotely similar. Something tells me that information about this artifact isn't that easy to find. I'm fairly certain none of the books in my collection cover this subject. Right. I suggest we wait until morning. Maybe by then Lucian will be able to find an expert who can give us direction. That makes more sense than wasting our energy on fruitless search. Everyone should rest now. All of you deserve that. You got us a new lead. Make a joke? Agree. I'm gonna make a joke. Does anyone know how to identify a polymorph? Seems like one is pretending to be Vesper again. I believe Madame Supreme Witch is experiencing side effects from the tincture. Vesper good-naturedly rolled her eyes at everyone's faint laughter, which quickly died down. The atmosphere wasn't exactly conducive to having fun. I know I sometimes put a lot of pressure on you. We're hoping to change the world. The stakes are too high, so I occasionally get very persistent, and... She grimaced. I think I'd better lie down. Has it started? Not yet, but soon. I can be obnoxious when I have a fever, so I should hide from society now. Good night, everyone. Meeting in the morning, in the dining room, as usual. Don't be late, Onyx. Vesper walked over to the couch and reached for Bay's forehead, but stopped herself just in time. You're going to be okay. I promise. Before she could leave, Nova said, If you need anything, let me know. Of course. Thank you. Her smile, however, made it clear she wouldn't ask for help. I'll stay here for a while. There was no need to guess why the warlock chose to linger, but no one, not even Onyx, made any suggestive comments. On that note, everyone dispersed to their rooms. Onyx and Talix escorted the catcher to her bedroom and kissed her goodnight. When the door closed behind them, Nova dragged her weary body to bed. I need to change before I fall asleep in this. Softness. Temptation. Lightness. I like it. It's pretty. Lightness. I mean, PJs don't really... I do like the star coordinates on that one. I'll go with basic again. After 15 minutes of tossing and turning under the covers, Nova accepted that her mind didn't care about her body's need for rest. I need to save my elixirs, which means I need to try and fall asleep on my own. Maybe I should just read something, like that novel. I think I brought it back to the office. With an exasperated sigh, she got up and headed to Lucian's office. I've had so many nights of like that, where you can't fall asleep. The house was silent. Slight creaks of the floorboards beneath her bare feet resembled quiet breathing. Even the air seemed somehow softer and calmer. Nova smiled as she entered the empty room. There's something special about being up late like this, when it's so quiet. She remembered all those times she snuck out after making sure Maria Luisa had fallen asleep watching TV. I regret that I didn't leave home back then. Made her and my father worry, didn't try to meet others when I was away. Try to meet others. If I had become part of a magical community earlier, things might have turned out differently. Anyway, where's the book? After scanning a few shelves and not finding the novel she was looking for, Nova realized You're a time catcher, silly. A wave of her hands, and she was in Fata Morgana. There, let's see where I put the book before we went to Kengana and Savita's. Since she'd rarely need to rewind time in such short intervals lately, she accidentally moved a couple of days further back than intended. Before her stood Shin and Vesper. There was no one else in the office, and the grim expressions on their faces hinted that they'd just finished a serious conversation. Looks like Shin even created a sound-absorbing spear around them so that no one could overhear. But I'm in Fata Morgana, so if I get closer, listen to the conversation. I work so hard for a common cause, it's unfair that they're hiding important information from me. I deserve to know. Let's see. Taking a step closer, Nova moved her hand in the air to transport herself to the beginning of it. It's in full swing. Nazima agreed to stay in Rome, so I asked her to keep records. We're growing in numbers. Our people are working with those who are on the fence. It's a slow process, but we're managing to convince many to go through initiation and join our army. Our army?
You did tell them not to be too intense, right? If they start throwing around words like army, many won't even want to listen out of fear. It's important that we respect everyone's reluctance to dive into the thick of things. They need to know that they can
back out at any moment. I know. No one is forcing anyone, Shen. Who do you take me for, some kind of dictator? Shen folded his arms across his chest, leaning against the window.
Sometimes, yes, you do remind me of a dictator.
Vesper gave him a stern look, placing her hands on the table. What are you suggesting? Coddling everyone? We're fighting for basic rights here, not playing games, in case you've forgotten. Join us if you want to be treated as a human, but if you're scared, that's fine. We'll just keep living like this for a couple more centuries. What does it matter? We're all scared, but we need to get over that fear. That is exactly what the recruitment teams are helping people with. Nothing more, nothing less. And if someone says no, we respect them. The warlock remained silent for a while, and when he spoke again, he changed the topic.
What's the situation with the radicals?
Vesper smiled mirthlessly. It's bad, as one would expect. They're causing all sorts of chaos, attracting unnecessary attention, provoking the Magistrum. I sent Orly to negotiate with the Awakening and suggest cooperation, but their leaders don't inspire trust. I was hoping we could use their anger, turn it to the right direction, but they're eager to charge into battle right now, without attempting a peaceful resolution, and that doesn't work for us. At least they're a source of distraction for the Magistrum.
I'm willing to bet Grigorov doesn't give two shits about them. He's laser-focused.
Naturally. Our spies haven't been very successful in discovering his plans, but it's clear you and Nova are his main targets.
Do you think the Cardinal would step in to protect her?
I don't believe he would. He hasn't shown an iota of interest in what's happening to her up until now. I'm sure his rank and position are much more important to him than his adopted daughter. He's kept her secret this whole time, probably so if anything happened, he wouldn't taint his good name. That old bastard. Tapping her nails on the table, the Supreme Witch straightened up. So any updates from Verona? Nova followed the conversation to the inn. Logistics, plans, arrangements, which were difficult to hear, for her to understand due to the lack of context. As Shen and Vesper headed for the door, the catcher left Fata Morgana, forgetting she was going to look for her book. Well, that was... Okay. Sneaking around, are you? The woman jumped in surprise. Lucian! Stop scaring me. What are you doing here? Ahem, hello. 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 I was just looking for a book, I suppose. The one you were reading before? How did you know? Why else would you be rewinding time here? Or were you eavesdropping on confidential conversations? Back to your old ways, huh? No, I didn't. No. Look, I know what it looks like, but I promise I wasn't going to... He laughed, shaking his head. I'm teasing you, Nova. No need to worry. I mean, it is still kind of a sensitive subject, if I'm not mistaken. In my house, you are free to do whatever you please. This is your business and yours alone. As for the book, as you've already figured out, thanks to your gift, I was the one who moved it. I keep things organized in a very specific way here, so I couldn't help but notice that the novel was on a shelf it didn't belong on. Lucian walked over to one of the other shelves and took down the book Nova had come for. I haven't the faintest notion why you'd want to read it. All the characters do is drink tea, unbearably dull and underwhelming. Here you go. The catcher accepted the novel with a polite smile. Thank you. Have you contacted Agnes yet? I'm afraid the only way to do that is to pay her an unannounced visit. I was just about to leave. Oh, well, good that you don't need sleep. Good night, Lucian. Sweet dreams. Yeah, I know, time is such a waste. Just think of it this way. 1/3 of your life is spent sleeping. I know I just ruined your day, didn't I? Nova left the office. Back in bed, Nova fell asleep after only 1 page of reading. However, the tranquility was not destined to last. A piercing scream tore through the silence. Startled, Nova jumped out of bed before she even realized what was happening. It wasn't until she shook off the remnants of sleep and stormed out of the door that she realized it wasn't a person screaming, but an alarm, which could only mean one thing. Someone tried to touch the artifact. Lucy, you in trouble? Nova ran into the others at the door, into the living room. Okay. Don't move. Right by the stand, a figure stood hunched over, clutching their head as if in pain. Take a closer look. Stop time. Descentra Nutra. Everything around her froze. It took her just a moment to figure out who'd triggered the alarm. Renato. Turn that thing off, please. His entire body was trembling with tension. He pressed his hands over his ears in a desperate attempt to drown out the sound, which seemed to grow louder with each passing second, piercing into his consciousness. Vesper ran up to the stand and entered the code, turning off the alarm. Talus was the first to recover. Taking a cautious step towards Renato, he asked softly, "Do you need help?" Renato shook his head, sitting on the floor. His shoulders wouldn't stop shaking. His fingers clutched his hair, knuckles almost white. One of his hands turned red, and the other result of being shocked. They... Nova dropped down to the floor next to him and put her hand on his back. New voices. From there. From the cube. Yes, I can't. I needed to make them stop. They keep screaming. I need to get out of here, please. I can teleport him. Tell me where. Lucian has a hunting lodge. Remember that one that he showed us? Yes. While Shen was making a portal in the hallway, Nova was stroking Renato's back, trying not to panic. I'll come with you. Need silence. Tomorrow? Of course. Tomorrow. Her heart sank at the realization that there was nothing she could do to help her friend. I'm ready. Let's go. Nova helped Renato up and walked him to the portal. Shen was already starting to chant a spell when Vesper interrupted him. Can you make out how many voices you're hearing? 2. 1 male and 1 female. I see. Thank you. A flash of blue, and the 2 men disappeared from the room. The catcher collapsed into one of the chairs and hid her face in her hands. One hell of a night. Vesper took the other chair. Her pale, dry lips the way she clutched her stomach made it obvious that the after effects of the elixir still hadn't worn off. It didn't even occur to me that he'd try and touch a protected artifact. Why didn't he wake up the second you brought this cube here? He might have taken one of the sleeping elixirs I gave him, or I forbid him from using them too often since they affect ordinaries much more strongly. Renato didn't mention he was going to take it, though. Maybe he suddenly felt very unwell, I don't know. But I suspect the effect wore off. He woke up and heard the screaming. Casting a glance at the object behind the glass, Nova shivered.
Does that mean there are dead people inside?
I don't understand anything anymore. I suggest everyone return to their rooms and try to get some sleep. Good idea. But I need some time to calm my nerves after all that chaos. Makes sense. After a quick wave to the others, Vesper left.
How are you, Mouse?
Onyx and Talus settled on the armrests of her chair. Onyx kissed her on the crown of her head, while Talus wrapped his arms around her shoulder. I'm alright, I just got scared. You two should rest. I'll wait for Shen to ask how Renato's doing. I don't really want to leave you here alone. It's okay, honestly. I can see you're both tired. We have to get up early tomorrow, or today, rather. I'll see you in the morning. Smiling faintly at them, she kissed each of them on the cheek reluctantly. They went to their rooms. The witch was now alone with Bae, who was still motionless as if someone had frozen her body and taken her soul. At that thought, Nova looked away. She leaned back in her chair, massaging her temples. Soon she heard a clap. When Shen re-entered the living room, she asked, "How is he?"
Much better now that he's away from this damned thing. He's going to be fine. Don't worry.
Thank you for helping. Sighing heavily, she stood up and looked at Shen. You look like you haven't slept. He shrugged.
Happens sometimes. Can't seem to fall asleep.
Everyone in this house is dealing with the same problem, except Lucian and perhaps Onyx.
I can't take tinctures. I've already started to develop a dependency, so I need to limit myself.
Then maybe... tea? Breathing exercises. We could make some tea.
Sure.
She headed to the kitchen, but stopped, noticing that her companion for this late-night tea party didn't move.
Lucian doesn't have the rubies. I drink it at night. It doesn't have caffeine.
Do you have any?
I do. In my room. Come on.
Oh, okay. She followed him. After rummaging through his bag and pulling out a small packet of loose rubus, Shen took his teapot. Nova smiled at the fact that, for all his practicality, the warlock had decided to bring it with him, all the way from Rome.
I'll go brew the tea. You can make yourself comfortable in the meantime.
He hurried away. The subtle sharpness in his movements made it clear that he wasn't accustomed to having guests in his personal space. Nova glanced around. The room seemed uninhabited. A travel bag lay sadly in the corner. The table was empty, but for a couple of books, and the bed was made, though slightly rumpled. Shen's personality shone through it all. Habits, prudence, and his disregard for anything unnecessary. A list that included an overwhelming amount of things. Decorative pillows are clearly one of them, judging by this mountain by the bed. The witch sat cross-legged on the floor at the foot of the bed. When Shen returned, he settled next to her and put the kettle and mugs from the kitchen on the floor.
It needs a few more minutes.
Okay. Exchanging faint smiles, they watched as the steam swirled up from the teapot, allowing the silence and softness of the woody aroma of the tea to draw them into its warm embrace. Soon, Shen poured the hot drink into the mugs, and they raised them to their lips. It's very nice. Do you need to brew it in a special way?
No, I just pour boiling water over the leaves. My grandfather took this stuff much more seriously, though. The exact time of brewing, temperature, to him it was a whole ceremony. If he knew how I did it, he would have a heart attack. So I guess it's a good thing he died when I was a teenager. It saved him from disappointment in his grandson.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you close? As Nova expected, Shin shrugged as he sipped his tea.
As close as you can be with someone like him. He was strict, serious, but I respected him. Grandma and Grandpa were against our parents' decision to send Yalan and I to an orphanage.
Why didn't they take you in?
They lived in China their whole lives. We were sent to an orphanage in Italy when we moved with our parents. They were going to come up there but needed to save for the trip. Grandma ended up getting sick before they found the money. It didn't work out.
And your parents?
I don't know anything about them.
There was no anger, disappointment, sadness in his voice. It seemed that the part of his soul reserved for his parents had been scorched.
Do you miss him?
Huh? She knew who he was talking about, but pretended she didn't. She was trying to buy the time and delay the moment where she'd have to respond.
Your father. Adoptive father.
A part of her ever wanted to lie, both to herself and to him. But I won't. I'm sick of lying. Yes, I do miss him.
But he...
I know, but I can't bring myself to hate him. Instead, I sometimes hate myself for listening to him, following his orders, putting so many lives at risk, all because of a stupid, selfish need for love and approval.
It isn't stupid.
What?
It isn't stupid. He'd been influencing you since you were a child, Nova.
But I started spying when I was an adult. I could have made a different choice.
You could have, and in the end you did, before it was too late. And you've taken responsibility for the damage you caused. You're trying to fix everything. That's enough.
The weight of his words enveloped her heart, filling it with warmth. Thank you, It was very important for me to hear that. They didn't speak for the next few moments, each consumed by their own thoughts until a sudden realization made Nova grin.
What?
Don't you dare say we aren't friends after this, sitting here in the middle of the night having a heart-to-heart. Shin is teasing. He values you as a friend and ally.
I'm a lone wolf catcher. People like me don't have friends.
Nova nudged Shin with her shoulder, and he chuckled softly. They continued to drink tea, quietly exchanging stories until both of them began to feel sleepy. The warlock kindly escorted the witch, who was barely staying on her feet, to her door and wished her good night. When she got to her bed, she fell into a restless sleep almost right away. Waking up the next morning, Nova didn't want to get up. However, one glance at the time told her she would miss the start of the meeting if she didn't. She got out of bed and started getting ready. Alright, so we have outfits time. Temperance, Justice, Strength, Judgment, Empress. Okay. I'm liking... I like Justice too, but I like a lot of these. I'm not gonna lie, but Strength, Judgment, and Empress. Empress looks super pretty. It goes with her hair, it goes with her eyes. Judgment's also a good one too, but I know. We'll do Empress. I really dig it. It's super pretty. All good. Current hairstyle. Let's just see what we got. Going on it. And the pink one's not bad. Going on a trip in our little hairstyle ship. Do. Keep the current hairstyle. I just had to, leave me alone. Is this all my choice? Yes. Her hair goes with the outfit, let's be honest. On the way to the dining room, Nova heard an unfamiliar melodic female voice. When she entered, she saw the Incineration Alliance and 2 new faces. Good morning, Nova. Meet Agnes and Radu. The man, Radu, got up from the table and bowed slightly. Greetings. Agnes stood up as well, but unlike Radu, decided to approach the catcher, pleased to make your acquaintance, Nova. You're pretty. I can see why Lucian was into you. I'll give you a 4. I give you a 4. I feel like 5. 5 literally has to feel perfect to me, right? There's no changes or anything I could have done in terms of story writing or visuals or things like that. 4, I have a couple things. It's not big, it's not huge, but a couple. Alright, so 1 sun, 2 moon, 2 status, 1 power. Diamonds! So, I hope all of you did enjoy this. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Also, make sure to subscribe if you're not already, and hit the little bell icon to receive notifications of when I upload even more content, especially content that you like. So, aside from that, as you can see, there is the next episode. That'll be coming here shortly. But, again, stay tuned for it, especially if you did enjoy what I did with this episode. Otherwise, I did enjoy it. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I look forward to reading it, but otherwise, thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch you all later. Peace out.